Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, you're having a much better day than Justin Timberlake is. And if you don't know, you don't know. This is Fernando, the Lone Star Halo. That's
And
Todd Fox.
yes, Modelo Especial.
And today, we're going to talk about all kinds of things Angels baseball, including, finally, it is over. The Jose Suarez era in Anaheim has concluded. Todd, hit the music.
Hey, you are now listening or watching the Halos in the Infield podcast, sponsored in part by Noble L Works over on 1621 South St. Clair, where you can get discounts by just mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Drink discounts on us, baby. And also by 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets. The price you see is the price you get, and you also get 10% additionally off in the Apply Now code once you order your tickets just by mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Now enjoy the show.
In the land of Astros, I play my part with the Halos in the infield. I'll make my mark. I'm the Lone Star Halo, shining bright tonight. In a sea of rangers, I'll stand and fight with the Halos in the outfield under stadium lights. From Texas to Anaheim, we'll soar to new heights. We'll soar to new heights.
Hey. So welcome into the Halos in the Infield daily podcast show that hasn't been too daily lately, but we're back and better than ever. Said one show on ESPN every morning when they broadcast. but
I think we have some decent excuses, right? I mean, it was Father's Day, Sunday. Everybody was with hanging out with their pops, or maybe they are pops. So, like Todd. And then yesterday, you were celebrating a milestone. I don't want to call it
the first time we met, and that has an Angels connection because it was at Angel Stadium. So we did that.
Exactly. So yes, definitely a milestone. Yes, and I was celebrating an anniversary. Our anniversary was tonight, but she's on a fitness journey and doing a great job with that. So because of that, routine is very important, and she didn't want to break the routine of going to class. So she asked if we could do the night before, and I said, yeah, of course.
That's a good man thing to do. But cheers to you, my friend.
That's awesome. Yes, cheers to you.
Congratulations.
Same. Yes. A lot of stuff to talk about in Angels Land. I mean,
there's a lot of news. Yes.
Yeah. So let's get to the bulk of the news first, and just kind of see what snowballs out of. I mean, you and I are always like, hey, this show's going to be like 30 minutes. Like 50 minutes later, it's like, all right, we need to start cutting this. Okay, so first of all, Jose Suarez has finally been designated for assignment. What's going to happen with him? I mean, chances are, I think he's going to clear waivers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's another team at this current minute that would take a chance at him. You think he gets picked up by someone?
First off, I have to play this for the last time, hopefully.
Dead man walking.
Whoops, that got cut off real quick. Anyway,
well, just like a Jose Suarez outing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was getting tired of hearing this guy's so good. This guy has a lot of potential. This guy, he could do things. You just got to give him time. He's got to fix his maybe his delivery. He's got to stop tipping his pitches. But if he's doing all that, he's not really that good. And he's shown that he sucks at times. I mean, this guy, if you look at his ERA, yes, he showed promise in 2021, 2022, but last year was a disaster. Yeah. Not just because of the injury, but because he was just so bad. He had an 8 ERA, comes back this year. And the only question I have to you, Fernando, is the same questions I get on the post game every night was, why did it take so long?
That's definitely the $1 million question, because when I think about the Jose Suarez era, that's the first thing that's going to come to mind. It's going to be this year because, we'll all say this. We have all seen glimpses of Jose Suarez, being an average major league pitcher. Mm-hmm. They were few and far between, short, but, it's been there. But at the end of the day, after 2024, and really after his first, 5-6 outings, it was like, okay, this guy's not figuring it out. And then Really, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was like, okay, guys, like what more is there to see?
Yep.
This guy's getting lit up like a firecracker every time he goes out there. And then he had the spot start last week. Was that last week? The spot
It
start?
was Sunday. He came in. Oh yeah, you're right. It was last week, and then he came in relief after Ben Joyce.
Yes, on Sunday. Yes, against the Giants. I know that was the straw that broke the camel's back for sure.
Correct.
But yeah, I don't get it. Like everyone's kind of made the joke. It's like, oh, he knows about the Ipe situation. He knows about the Otani situation. Maybe he knows that Artie Moreno was sleeping with his secretary. I don't know. But it's something, man, because it's like it doesn't make sense. Like you and I've spoken ad nauseum about the fact that Jose Suarez has just done so bad that really there's nobody in the organization that can replace this guy. Bring up a guy from AA or AAA who's got no chance of making in the majors and at least give him an opportunity because Jose Suarez doesn't deserve one anymore.
And his name is escaping me. Maybe you can help me. But the pitcher we had got, the left-hander who we DFA'd, we retained him, but he was DFA'd before Suarez. Remember, he had like one bad inning. It was like the first time he had given up like 2 runs. I want to say the guy came from Pittsburgh, the left-hander.
Ooh, I don't know.
Or no, from Cincinnati. He was the guy that always fought people in Cincinnati.
Oh, Amir Garrett.
Yeah, it made that really pissed off Angel fans, and I heard it every night when we're DFAing Amir Garrett, who literally he had 1 run given up in 8 innings, and then he gave up like 2 runs, and they DFA'd him. I mean, they didn't even think twice.
Todd, this is the organization that DFA'd Cole Tucker, who had a 0 ERA as a pitcher. So,
well, that's true. They should have held on to him as a pitcher at least.
But go figure. This guy's ERA was great.
Yeah. And so with those 2 roster moves, they got Dan Plesac's son Zach up here, and then they brought up Drury off the IL.
So you were at the game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see Plesac pitch. Mm-hmm. So early trouble, give up that 2-run shot.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, kind of settled into a groove. Now, in your opinion, in all your years of baseball, Todd, do you think that Plesac got lucky because it was supposed to be Soriano starting and, they just didn't prepare? Or do you think Plesac actually has something worth exploring?
I think it's a little of both. And I'll tell you why. I think Plesac should have, in my mind, should have started on Sunday. They should have brought him up on Sunday to have him pitch in that game instead of having used up the bullpen, because they were freaking out about using up the bullpen on Monday. But Plesac did what I didn't think he could do, which was go 6. And he gave him 6 quality innings. He did get a break in that 1 inning where he threw a base runner out at first, which we were looking dead across the first base. He picked him off really good, very solid pickoff move. And then Guillerme got the what is it called? In the pickle. He got the out in the pickle. So those 2 outs were huge because the very next hitter hit a home run, and had those 2 men been on base, it would have been tied at 5. So he did catch a break yesterday, but I thought overall he's like, I think he's pitching with the idea of, I don't want to go back to the minors, number 1. And number 2, when he came up, he was really cocky, they said, in Ohio. And that's one of the reasons why they DFA'd him, because he, to them, wasn't worth the trouble because of his attitude and his preparation. So maybe he's learned something, and this is one of those guys that's a reclamation project that might actually work for us. Still early to tell, but I'd like to see more from him. Can't hear you.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. I was pretty cocky over there.
Yeah.
The words of the great Roger Lodge. All right. So you were at the game yesterday, as I already said. Carlos Estevez.
Mm-hmm.
Has he figured something out? In his last 7 outings, he hasn't given up a run. And in his last 15, he's got an ERA of 3.60.
Yeah, from what I noticed, he's working a lot faster, and maybe that's helping him. He's not sitting back thinking about what pitch to throw, and I guess whoever's calling it, whether it's him or the catcher or the dugout, I noticed he's very fast. His last 3 outings, he's pitched less than 13 pitches to get 3 outs. So that's pretty fantastic. That's telling you he's either pitching to contact, keeping the ball in play, or he's just flat out throwing strikes. So both of them, I think, are in play, and he looks pretty dominant right now. This is the Carlos Estevez that you want as a closer.
And if you are a true Angels fan, if you're a Halo honk like me,
Then shut up.
yeah, exactly. I'm just throwing all the Roger Lodge references up there. I'll say this. The number one thing that you want is for Estevez to continue to progress. And the reason for that, it's going to help his trade value, right? At the end of the day, this guy's on an expiring contract, okay?
Yeah.
And if we have the ability to trade him for 1 or 2 lower level prospects, and I'm talking about like a 30 to 40 in an organization type of guy, I don't think we're going to get much more than that. Maybe.
We'll
Maybe.
see.
I mean, there's such a lucrative market for, bullpen arms all the time, so maybe you can get more.
Well, that way of thinking is brilliant, Fernando, because a 30 or 40th in an organization somewhere else is a top 10 with us. So,
Yeah.
brilliant.
At least a top 15.
Exactly.
So
I'll take that.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've said it a lot. The number one thing this team needs to do is be realistic of where they are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of hoping that now that they're not, what's the term? Pretending to be contenders, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
They'll be more honest about, like, okay, well, we're not going to say it's a rebuild, but let's treat it like a rebuild. You know what I mean? Estevez, Sandoval, Rengifo, Ward, whoever has trade value at the deadline, take the phone calls, and if it's going to make you better in 2 years, make the move.
Yeah, because this is one thing, Fernando, you brought up right now with these expiring contracts, or the guys that you said, like Rengifo, who still has a year of control after this season. Those guys are the tantalizing ones that will probably get the most calls. But these 1-year guys, if Strickland can get it together, like a Matt Moore can get it together and become more serviceable, like you said, Carlos Estevez expiring contract, you could flip
Hunter
those
Strickland being the biggest one.
Yeah, if you guys can, if the Angels can think that way and just be like, look, we're not getting any better. What's the point of holding on to these guys when we're already 15 to 20 games under or out of first place? There's no real reason to ride these guys to the end of the season. So I can understand if you're not getting any phone calls, then it is what it is. But if you're getting phone calls, you have to entertain it and possibly not get lowballed, but take a lower offer than you would expect to get, because again, you don't want to be holding on to expiring contracts and get nothing out of them, in my opinion, with this team the way it is.
The only guy whose name, and you know me, I've been a little bit of a hater over the years of Luis Rengifo.
Mm-hmm.
And I know his name is being thrown around everywhere, like, hey, trade him, because his value's high. I would be okay with keeping Rengifo if they were more like, okay, well, hey, we've seen this guy for the last 2 or 3 years. We feel that we can help build the organization around, him and Neto. And, he can be part of that core. Because, I mean, the guy's only, 28, 29.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'd be okay with him getting the keys to the kingdom as long as he has a position. Because this guy's gotten thrown around the infield over the last, 3-4 years.
Yep.
So maybe you just give him the keys to third base, because it's not like Rendon's using them.
Now, see, that's a brilliant idea, but I think the only way I'm on board with that is if we cut number 6. I mean,
and that's part of that, yes.
Yeah, because if they give Rengifo third base, like you said, I'm happy with that. Like he's another Sean Figgins over there at third, a master of the infield. He's even done the outfield, but you'd love to give him a single base and a position for once. So I see your point there, and he's very good at third. He did good last night. But yeah, I mean, if number 6 is gone, you have to give it to him. I would think so. But if you really don't have any idea what you're going to do with number 6, you might have to make that move at the deadline.
Let me ask you this about Anthony Rendon. So,
Okay.
He isn't exactly referred to as a clubhouse type of cat. I mean, I know Heath Bell in the interview had said that, hey, he's a fun guy to be around in a locker room. But with that being said, what do you think would be more insulting to Anthony Rendon? Him just outright being waived or whatever, and getting released, his outright release, with what, 2.5, 3 years of control left?
Mm-hmm.
Or them letting somebody else start and Rendon just rots away on the bench for, time and time and time.
I think rotting on the bench would hurt him more, especially if he's healthy. But at this point, you can't justify leaving him on the bench with that kind of salary. So the Angels are kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they play him, they face the backlash of the fans, him getting hurt again, it turning into here goes the Angels again. If they cut him, the media will be like, look, another failed contract. He's not living up to it. They have to eat the money. If they sit him, look what's on the bench. I mean, there is no win for the Angels as an organization. So it's just the one that they have to think about. What is going to help us in the long run? What is, forget what the media thinks about us. They already think we are a losing organization, having the two best players and blah, blah, blah. We've heard that a million times. Just add this one to the list. I would just say, just cut your losses, get them out of there. I know Heath Bell is a player's guy and doesn't want to talk crap about other players. I get it. But we all know, we've heard rumblings. Rendon isn't the coolest cat out there. You just have to look to that one play that, Ohtani did last year where he refused to even acknowledge him because he was tired of his bull crap. So I just feel in the long run, you just bite the bullet, dude. You bite the bullet, and whether you have a position or a player ready or not, you just bite the bullet.
How do you feel about Brandon Drury finally coming back?
Not excited because the way he's played, his attitude this entire time. I'm not a Drury fan. I would have loved for them to have moved on last year at the deadline from him. This year has been an absolute disaster. His trade value is in the garbage. I mean, unless he goes on quite the epic run.
We're talking a Lynn Sanity type run.
Yes. I mean, he'd have to show up and show out for a while here, but right before the deadline. They're not going to get nothing for him. And that's a guy that it sucks, but they're going to be stuck with him the rest of the year. You're going to be seeing him in September, which if they do a trade where they're getting rid of guys and they're an active seller, that one should have been a guy that should be traded, but I just don't see it happening, bro.
Yeah, I mean, not where we currently are, but you never know. You never know who people see value in. I mean, look at Ian Kinsler when he was here. He wasn't a hot angel, and I mean, they were able to flip him to Ty Butcher, and I know I use that example a lot. But that's just an example of a guy who wasn't doing too well here, during his time in Anaheim. And sometimes you could turn nothing at all into, a little bit of something. So,
quick little story on Ian Kinsler.
Sure.
I was at the game where he was with I forget what year. It might have been 2014, but it was the start of the season. Yeah, it must have been 2014 when Ian Kinsler came on the field and was like, he yelled at the Angels fans because the Rangers had just swept us at home early in the season, and he's all, get the fuck off our field. We run the West, and he yelled that to the fans. And it was later in the year when the Angels won the division, everyone was yelling at him and booing him. And the fact he became an Angel, I never liked that move, man. I'm like, oh, this guy, he talked crap about us, and now he's an Angel? No.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Good times.
I was just say bad times. But okay, so real quick, I want to talk about Mickey Moniak over his last couple games, his last 7.
Mm-hmm.
He's batting .273. Not great, but much better than where he was.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that's still batting 186 for the year. So, but that's what happens when your numbers are so far down in, the whirlpool that you have to recover. So, Mickey Moniak, where are you on him currently? I want your temperature check on him, right where we stand.
He's still got a lot to prove. Last night he had 2 strikeouts and he made an error in center field that almost cost the Angels. I'm almost to the point where I'm like, okay, we need to cut our losses with this guy. I still see holes in his swing. To me, he won't impress me till he's batting over 230 and starting to get it up and up and up. He's still 0-2 all the time, and he doesn't really, he's getting fooled real easy on sliders down and in or curveballs down the middle that dip on the lower part of the strike zone. He's just too aggressive. And when he falls down 0-2, he's swinging that stuff up and high. So he's either striking out or he's popping out. So, and it's a shame because defensively he's pretty good. And on the bases, when he gets on, he can be a real good asset as far as stealing bases.
Absolutely. It's a very underrated part of his game for sure.
Correct. And it's just he's not on base enough.
So speaking of a guy that hasn't been on base enough lately, Taylor Ward. So in his last 30, he's batting 190. His on-base percentage is 317 in the last 30. So, obviously not bad there. In his last 15 games, he's batting .089.
Yeah.
And then his on-base percentage is 250. In his last 7, he's batting 105. So Taylor Ward started off the year incredibly hot. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you scroll back enough episodes, you'll hear me say, hey, I think this guy's going to be an all-star.
Yeah.
And, for a little while, it definitely looked like, hey, this might be the guy who represents the Angels, right? Mike Trout had just gotten hurt. We were thinking maybe Tyler Anderson, maybe Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward has fallen off, to say the least.
Correct.
I don't think he's getting traded. He's got no trade value at the current minute. I understand he's controllable. I understand he's cheap, but batting 236 on the year where, you're batting not even your weight. It's just not looking too good. What's wrong with him?
I think he's still got that lazy swing, the uppercut swing. There's times where he comes out and he looks kind of good where he looks like he's settled in. He's putting the barrel of the bat on the ball. He does take walks even in his struggling times. Note the 317 on base percentage, but I just feel that he's flailing out there too much, trying to do too much with home runs or trying to pull the ball too much instead of just taking what the pitcher. Again, he's another guy who's never quite made that adjustment, but when the pitchers adjust to him, you see what you got. So the April that you talked about didn't reflect the May and is certainly not reflecting the June. And his trade value is almost gone because you can look at his numbers at 240, right? You can compare that with Joe Adell, who's batting 193. Taylor Ward's got 12 and 37 right now. When he started the season at 10 and I think 27, and then you had Joe Adell starting off kind of red hot. He's at 193 and 12 and 32. So they've got almost the same numbers. They're the same player right now. And both of them have, questionable defense.
The thing that I really want to focus on with Taylor Ward, over his last 30 games, in his last 30 games, he has 100 at-bats exactly where we currently stand right now. Obviously, by the end of the game, that might change.
Okay.
But he struck out 35 times out of those 100. And this guy is striking out 35% of the time in his last 30 games. That's not a good number. He's only walked 20 times the last month, which, okay, that's respectable. Like you said, his on-base percentage was what? You said 317?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's pretty good, right? You want to be getting on base at least 30% of the time. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much trash about that. But the 35 strikeouts over the last month, that's what I don't love. And that's where the adjustment needs to be made. Because the thing with Taylor Ward, we've never seen him do it through a full 162.
Correct.
Something always happens, whether it's an injury, and it's been tough luck injuries for him, unfortunately. So what I want to see his ability to adjust, because we haven't gotten to see him do it. He got hurt, when he hit the concrete slab in right field, right? Came back and then got hot again. Okay, and then last year he got hit in the face, and obviously that's going to knock a lot of guys off their rhythm. Looked really good in spring training, looked really hot in April, and we just haven't seen him be able to get his footing again. Now, I believe he will. Taylor Ward is a average Major League Baseball player.
Correct.
And that's not insulting. You know what? There's a lot of guys up there who aren't even that. This guy is a 250 to 265 hitter, and that's good. He provides average enough defense. He's going to get on base 32 to 35% of the time. You know what? There is always spots in Major League Baseball for guys like that. Hell, the Angels would kill for a guy like that lately, but we just need him to make the adjustment. Work with Johnny Washington and make the adjustment as a major league hitter. Like Todd said, the pitchers are adjusting to you. At some point, you have to adjust your game accordingly because that's what separates the major leaguers from the 4A guys.
Do you think that he missed his opportunity this year? Because my opinion on it is we didn't need him to be the Robin to Batman, which would have been Trout if Trout was healthy, but we needed him to be at least a Nightwing. We needed him to be someone close to putting up not quite Trout numbers, but being a good secondary player. And especially with Trout going down, he was given the team basically to be the leader of. Do you think that he could have been that player? You calling him an average player? Because I'm agreeing with you. I believe he's an average player, but by the major league time, I know it's a long question, but I'm just trying to get a couple points. The major league time he's put in, shouldn't he be better? And shouldn't he be the leader of a team that's banged up?
I was listening to another Angels podcast earlier, and they were talking about Reed Detmers and his development. And, I was kind of deep in thought about the fact that, there's a lot of teams out there. When they call somebody up to the show, you see those guys progressing and getting better. Or, they go to a new organization. For instance, like Max Muncy was a nobody with the Athletics, right? And that's pretty rare that they leave the Athletics and get better somewhere else.
Yep.
Went to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers turned him into a average to above average Major League Baseball player. We've seen both sides of Max Muncy.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Taylor was another guy for the Dodgers, right? Turned into an above average player there. There's not a lot of guys here over the last decade that I can think of that were, I'm not going to say highly touted prospects because we really haven't had any highly touted prospects over the last decade. You can say Joe Adell, you can say Brandon Marsh because they were top 100 prospects in Major League Baseball at one point. But besides those guys, there hasn't been too many just, oh my gosh, they're coming, they're here type of prospects for us that have come and taken the world by storm. We've had a couple of these slow burn type guys who kind of eventually figured it out and just turned into serviceable players. I know this is kind of past the last decade, but, Cole Calhoun was one of those guys, was kind of a nobody through the Angels minor league system, right? Nobody really expected much out of him. Came up to the show, had a couple of good years of success, turned out to be an average major league player. And that's kind of what Taylor Ward's been. Hasn't really taken the world by storm. We've seen glimpses of an all-star, absolutely. But, hey, a blind squirrel catches a nut, right? Hey, a broken clock's right twice a day. So with that being said, is Taylor Ward a great Major League Baseball player, or is it easier to call him what he is? An average Major League Baseball player. You and I kind of agree on that. You know what? There's nothing wrong with it. Taylor Ward, if you're listening, hey, there's a lot of guys who aren't even that. Todd and I weren't even good to be average Major League Baseball players. We weren't good enough for that. So with that being said, take it for what it is. I think Taylor Ward can help this team, sure, but this team and next year's team are going to contend. And at that point, that's when you're not going to have Taylor Ward anymore. You're going to have to really, really think about trading him next year if he has any value at all. Or this offseason, maybe if he heats up again, trade him somewhere else. Get something for him because I don't think he's going to be around much to help this team when this team is relevant.
I agree because the last thing I'll say on Ward real quick is the fact that he's not what they asked him to be this year, which is a number 3 and number 4 hitter. I think on a good baseball team or even a slightly above average team, he'd be a number 7 or number 8 hitter towards the back end of your lineup. But if you have him where we have him, and the fact that he hasn't progressed has been so disappointing. I think we know now what his ceiling is, and it's unfortunate because it's not that high. And, we're just stuck with who he is. And Taylor Ward, I mean, you said it as best. I can't say any better. If you look up average baseball player in the dictionary, chances are you might see his face.
All right, so 2 guys I want to talk about now that we move on from that topic. So All-Star games coming up in 2-3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I think it's probably fair to assume that Tyler Anderson is going to be one of our representatives, right?
Should it'd be a travesty if he's not.
Yeah, he's doing very, very well, and I think he deserves a nod there. So let's assume, he doesn't get it, or let's say we get him and someone else. So Luis Rengifo is a name that a lot of people are throwing out there. We'll see what happens there. And the other two guys I want to ask your opinion of. I don't think either of these guys get in, but do they deserve a hard look? Number one, Zach Neto, and number two, Logan O'Hoppe.
I think O'Hoppe does for several reasons because he's been an anchor. He hasn't put up dominating numbers, but of late he's gotten his average up really healthy now. It's
about 278 right now.
Yeah, 278. So he's doing good there. And, the numbers aren't exactly crushing it, but 9 and 31 is good for his first. Let's just put it out there. This is basically his rookie season because he's going to be able to play a full season. Zach Neto.
Don't you?
Zach Neto's on pace for. I called it on the post game last night. I think he's going to go for 26 and 77 this year. And I think the only thing that keeps him out of the All-Star break is his average. If he can't get his average up to at least flirting with 270 a little bit, 265 between now and the All-Star break, and raise the on-base percentage, because that's a little low for a guy who should be getting on with some walks too. He's not too selective with his hitting, but I would say if neither one of those guys make it this year, they would almost have to be shoo-ins for next year.
Okay, so either of these guys. So I don't think either of these guys get in by, the fan vote for sure, or even by the coaches vote. So with that being said, with maybe some injuries, can you see one of these guys getting in at least?
No. But I do see Mike Trout making it.
Yeah, probably, right. Yeah, I don't think Neto has too much of a chance this year. But if Major League Baseball knows what's good for them, they would try to get Neto or O'Hoppe in, just one of them in, if there are injuries. And the reason for that is because these are two guys who are fun to watch. They're going to be around for years to come. And they can kind of pitch them as the new regime, if you will, in Anaheim, right? Like, hey, here's what's coming in Anaheim, right? The guys that are going to, play with Trout.
If this team is much better next year, as far as they're built better, have players around them, and they're hitting the way we think that they're going to hit in their second or third year, whatever, next year, there should be no reason for them not to make the postseason. Because like you said, people are going to look at them and be like, you know what? This is the next version, like you said, of the Angels, the young kids, and they're going to be featured more. I think if the team is closer to getting in the playoffs, or at least in the wild card hunt via the All-Star game, I think they're going to be featured, and then you're going to be like, hey, let's check out those young stars down there in Anaheim. So that would be nice. That would be nice to get some representation other than freaking Trout.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think O'Hoppe has the better chance. But, just his numbers are higher.
Mm-hmm.
He's flirting with the 300s. He does have double digits home run, right? Or he has 9 right now?
He has 9 right now. He has
9. Okay, so he'll be at probably 11 or 12 come the trade deadline. Come the All-Star break. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Trade deadline, hopefully he's closer to 15, but I mean, he's not going to get traded, so we know that. So, it's going to be interesting to see how many All-Stars we have represent the Angels. Like I said, obviously it's here in my backyard this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping to go. I hope it's not Tyler Anderson, because if it is, I'm not going to buy any Angels All-Star Game merch. I'm not going to buy a Tyler Anderson jersey. The guy's going to get traded.
Yeah.
But if it's an O'Hoppe jersey, perhaps.
I'll tell you one thing though. If we're not trading Anderson at the deadline, we're not trading anybody.
Yeah,
and I think
there's no way we're not getting phone calls already about Anderson. There has to be some already.
I hope so. I really hope so, and I hope it's from a team that's very deep in the National League that has pretty good prospects. Because he should be able to, like you said, snag you a couple good players.
Well, I mean, there's already guy. I mean, look at Yamamoto on the Dodgers. He's going down. He's on the IL right now.
Yeah, no timetable for him.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows, man? There's a lot of teams out there.
You know what one I'm really thinking about? The Braves have been like under 500 since losing a couple major stars.
They're 8 games out of first place right now. The Phillies are the best team in the National League. So
Yeah, I mean Tyler Anderson would help that rotation instantly.
absolutely, the Padres are another team. They're a bubble team.
Yep, that's true.
They need to fight for a playoff spot, or sorry, a playoff spot, or that wild card spot, at least the top one. They're probably not going to chase as a division. So with that being said, what can they do to inch themselves a little closer?
Mm-hmm.
Anderson's a team friendly guy.
He is actually, and
Team
he's
friendly
not,
contract, $13.3 million.
and he's been proven to be a good clubhouse guy. He's not going to rock the boat either way. He's not going to be too over ambitious, and he's not going to be under the radar and a bad cancer. So he's a good guy.
So speaking of good locker room guys, so Mike Trout's a very passive, very quiet locker room guy. And this is going to be our last topic, unless you have anything else. He had mentioned that his rehab progression is a lot farther behind than he thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't really even started running yet, if
Mhm.
if I heard that correctly.
Yeah, not even on the treadmill.
Yeah. So where are you on that
Shut it
What-
down.
for the year?
Yeah, shut it down. I mean, literally, there is
But
no.
Todd, the All-Star game.
It doesn't matter, man. There's nothing. Again, like I think, like the Angels need to do in the offseason, take a good hard look at yourself and realize, look, this isn't working. We need to change something, right? I think Trout's the same way. I think he needs to go look in the mirror and say, look, my body may be too big for what I'm trying to do. I need to lose some weight a little bit. I could and speed up my bat speed, like get my swing faster. I need to be able to do weights on my lower half of the body to where I could, strengthen up my knees and my legs so I'm not carrying this mass up top. And maybe that'll ease the situation a little bit, change things up, change a diet even. He needs to take a good hard look at himself and do a reset. And I just think it would be foolish to come back this season. And especially, I think to me, we both know he's not going to be back before the break, but I believe that by then the Angels should be sellers like me and you think. And if that's the case, what would be the point for him to come back?
Well, that's just it, Todd. There is no point for him to come back because, I mean, let's be honest here. He's probably going to come back the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
End of August, maybe very, very early part of September. The only thing I can think of is, we just want him to get some at-bats. Look what happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
Came back for a single game?
Yeah. It's embarrassing. And think about this too. Someone brought it up, but I don't remember the numbers, but we're now even on bobbleheads that he's been around for, that he's been actually playing while the bobbleheads are distributed, to the amount of bobbleheads that have been there when he's injured. So I think this one's going to put it as he's missed more than he's been present for, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. He hasn't really been present for the last couple ones. I mean, even last year, the Ohtani and Trout one, he was hurt. So.
Yeah, and speaking of Ohtani, since you brought him up,
Ugh.
did you see the Dodgers Ohtani bobblehead?
No, but I saw people were selling them.
Well, yeah, the one that's coming out, the next one that's coming out is Ohtani's like smiling and he's holding his dog, and it says his dog's name and Ohtani on the bottom, and the dog's head like jiggles too. So, so even
every day we stray farther from God. Every day we get farther from God, Todd. I don't know what to say.
I think you said it perfectly. I wasn't expecting that, so good on you on that one.
Yeah, ask Marsha next time she calls into the show what she feels about Ohtani's head bobbling.
Nope, not gonna go there. Not gonna go there.
Todd, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, he calls me buddy. Or she calls me buddy. I'm like,
how's it going, buddy? Nice job, pal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about the whole Trout situation at the moment, but I will say there's no point of bringing him back too early and getting him more injured. But there needs to be a tough conversation this offseason. Just like Heath Bell had said, here's where we're going as an organization. You're in or you're out. And we just kind of need to figure it out because assuming he doesn't play again this year, is he really helping the team? I
Correct.
love Trout. I'm a big Mike Trout fan. And if Mike Trout wasn't an Angel anymore, I wouldn't have a lot of Angels jerseys that are still relevant that I could still wear. So believe
That
me.
is true. That is true. We would have 2 former number 27s in our closet.
Yeah, exactly. At least I still wear my Guerrero because he's a Hall of Famer now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's an Angel in my mind forever. So there you go.
Yeah. I wouldn't wear my Trout jerseys until he retires.
Yeah.
At that point, I could wear them again.
Yeah, I think Trout. I would definitely root for him if he went anywhere else except, the freaking Dodgers, of course.
I don't think I'd be able to cheer for him if he was a Yankee or a Philly either, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I got
Sure.
is breaking news that happened earlier on. The Say Hey Kid passed away. Willie Mays,
Yeah.
true ambassador to the game. One of the best ball players of all time. Obviously, me and you didn't see him in his heyday. That's way before our time, but there's always been those stories. There's always been those great videos and the plays that he made. Phenomenal baseball player.
Of course.
And broke a lot of barriers and was big here on the East and West Coast. So, RIP from me to Willie Mays. Lived a long and industrious life, 93 years old. So, but still, it's a sad day when you lose a legend.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, well, the NBA lost, their logo guy, and MLB lost to Say Hey Kids. So, I mean, definitely a rough sports week. A lot of iconic players. Willie Mays, obviously, we've all seen the highlights. We've all seen that catch at the Polo Grounds where he caught it and fired the ball back into the infield.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most iconic defensive plays ever. You've seen the photo, you've seen the videos, and he's well respected in baseball circles. And definitely a guy I never got to watch play, but he's on the list of guys I wish I could have seen. I wish I could have seen Nolan Ryan pitch. I wish I could have seen Jackie Robinson. I wish I could have seen Willie Mays. I wish I could have booed Babe Ruth in person. You're a plumber.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me too. I mean, there's teams like the Pirates. I would have loved to see the We Are Family Pirates, the old Angels in '82, the freaking the Big Red Machine. But Willie Mays was right there, man. One of those guys that by the time we saw him, he's over there in a golf cart, throwing out a first pitch, or he's congratulating Barry Bonds on his accomplishments. He was good friends and a mentor to him. So. Yeah, man. I mean, respect gives respect, and I think the league lost a legend. I hope they do something like what they've done for other ball players who have passed away, like make it a day, make it a Willie Mays Day, because they got the Jackie Robinson Day, you got the
Roberto Clemente Day.
Roberto Clemente. I think a Willie Mays Day would be nice too, because he did do a lot for the game and for his heritage and his the African American community too.
Well, at least for a fact the Giants are probably going to do something for Willie Mays for the rest of the year. Probably something like a patch or something, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be good if Major League Baseball did a day for Willie Mays. He's a well-respected, one of the most iconic baseball players of all time. If you ask any knowledgeable baseball fan, to name some of the top, hey, who are the top baseball names you've heard of? You're going to hear your Ken Griffey's. You're going to hear Ken Griffey Jr.'s. You're going to hear Barry Bonds. You're going to hear Willie Mays. You're going to hear, Babe Ruth for whatever reason. There's a laundry list of guys you're going to hear. But, yeah, he is certainly a baseball legend, and it's a very sad day for baseball. And, respects to one of the best to ever do it for sure.
Absolutely. So, well, with that being said, if you guys don't know, on the 22nd is Mezzo, the Calzone and Buffalo Wings place, right walking distance from the Angel Stadium. Even if you're coming in on the other side, Orange Thorpe side, come in on the Catella side. That's where the stadium's at. 714 Tickets is moving into that same little area. So you'll have Noble, 714 Tickets, and Mezzo within walking distance of each other. So get your beer at Noble. Come over to get your tickets and a nice calzone and some buffalo wings. They got garlic knots, everything 15% off. The 22nd is going to be the grand opening. We're going to be there doing a watch party. So come out. There's going to be prizes and giveaways, and you could get that discount on food.
Awesome. Check it out, everyone, for sure.
Yep. And the date has been moved. We're just, especially with Soriano's injury, it was supposed to be the 29th. It may be the 27th. We should know by this weekend. If not, it might be pushed back another week, but we'll see. But we're definitely going to have an autograph signing and a interview with Jose Soriano.
I'm really excited to hear that interview. You told me about this last week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember you telling me about it, and I was like, dude, that's going to be awesome. Because if there's a guy you want to interview and a guy whose autograph you want right now, I mean, Soriano's going to be at the top of the list. The guy has been impressive, to say the least, this year.
Yeah, he's definitely been a pleasant surprise. I know me and you and everyone else on this network, we tend to focus on a lot of the negatives, but because there hasn't been too many positives, bro. But you're right. Soriano is one of those guys that he has a future.
Hopefully, because we also thought Parker Bribble had a future. So
come on, don't lump them together.
Yeah, I like Soriano. I really do. I really do. I didn't take him seriously in spring training because, I mean, I was like, oh God, here's another guy. You know what I mean? But he's been a very pleasant surprise. I have loved seeing him pitch so far.
Absolutely. So, Fernando, another great show. Another time that we said 30 minutes or less, and it's 47 minutes. So, yeah.
That's what we do. That's how we do it here.
Exactly. So for Todd Fox and the
Lone Star Halo.
Yes. We will bid you a farewell. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace.